Bonjour, bienvenue à la 11e semaine de cours de français 101 à Ivy Tech. Cette semaine, nous allons faire la section grammaire interactive du chapitre 4. C'est une section sur les adjectifs possessifs comme mon, ma, mes, qui veut dire my, et aussi le verbe aller et le verbe venir. Aller is to go, venir is to come. Vous allez aussi apprendre le passé récent avec venir et le futur simple avec aller. So this session is quite packed with grammatical features to learn, two new verbs which will allow you to form the past, the recent past, and the future, the near future. So make sure that you watch this whole video and also the grammar tutorial videos in Central. As usual, your activities in Central are listed here in Blackboard first. You also have additional videos from YouTube to explain to you the passé récent and futur proche in case you need those two. So watch the ones in Central first, and if you still need help, you can watch these. These include a couple more verbs than what you're learning in this chapter in Central. They're not synced with the book. They're just an extra help for you if you need it. Also, the website from the University of Texas is very well done. It's extra practice and extra explanations for grammar. They've added all the soundtracks, so they're reading all the grammar as you can read it, so you can listen to it and read it at the same time. And there's some self-check exercises that autocorrect, so you can see your answers right away, and that's pretty nice too. So let me move over to Central with you and walk you through the material for this week. Voilà, on commence ici, chapitre 4, section grammaire interactive. On a 4 points de grammaire, donc 4 points à 4.4. Regardez d'abord les vidéos de grammaire ici. Il y en a 2 pour le chapitre 4. Une sur les adjectifs possessifs et une sur aller, le futur proche et les prépositions. So you should watch the 4.1 before you do section 4.1 and then watch this one, aller, le futur proche, before you do the rest of the grammar. Je repasse sur le site du livre. Voilà, c'est ma famille means it's my family on the possessive articles. As I explained in the last session a little bit, there are several ways to say my in French. So you say, c'est mon livre, it's my book. C'est ma voiture, it's my car. Mon ma is masculine and feminine. So in French, it's not whether the person who owns an object is masculine or feminine doesn't make any difference. It's the object that's being possessed that makes the difference in French. So the book is masculine, that's why you say c'est mon livre. The car is feminine, that's why you say c'est ma voiture. So at the third person, that's when you really see the difference between French and English. C'est son livre can be, it's either that's his book or that's her book. Because it's whether the book is masculine or feminine that makes you use son ou sa. Livre is masculine, so you use son. And that doesn't tell you whether the person who owns the book is a man or a woman. It only tells you that book is masculine. So this is a little grammar point that's hard to understand and hard to remember for American speakers because it's so different from what you normally do in English. Again, c'est sa voiture. It doesn't mean it's her car necessarily. It could be his car too. It's his car or it's her car. But you use sa voiture because voiture is feminine. J'aime bien mes cours. I like my classes. So in English, it's my. Mon, ma, mes, it's always my. In French, mes cours, you use mes because classes here is plural. Il aime bien ses cours, elle aime bien ses cours, means he likes his classes or she likes her classes. In French, we only have one way to say this, is il aime bien ses cours or elle aime bien ses cours. So in this sentence, you know whether the person is a man or a woman by the very beginning, il ou elle. But you cannot tell in the c'est, because it could be his or her. It's the same form in French. Voici un tableau donc à remplir avec les explications ici en haut. Mon père is my father, ma mère, my mother, mes parents, my parents. Mon grand-père, my grandpa. Sorry, in the second line, it's ton grand-père, ta grand-mère, tes grands-parents. That's your. Son cousin, sa cousine, ses cousins ou ses cousines. So, his or her. Notre oncle, notre tante, nos oncles, nos tantes. Our uncle, our aunt, or our uncles, or aunts. Votre frère, votre sœur, vos frères, vos sœurs. So, your brother, your sister, or your brothers, your sisters. In English, again, it doesn't change. Your brother, your sister, but in French is vos, V-O-S, vos frères, vos sœurs, is your brothers, your sisters. So we change the form, but in English it's not changed. Leur ami, leurs amis. So their friend, their friends. If there's several friends, you have to put an S at the end of their. In English you don't, but in French you do. Leur et leur. You don't hear it, that's the hard part, because it's a final consonant, is not pronounced, but it has to be written there, because it's leur is plural. D'accord? This is a little detailed note. You should know about this, but it doesn't happen very often. You're not going to encounter this very often in French 101. These are two separate rules here. The first one is pronunciation. So, mon ordinateur, mon ends with the consonant, ordinateur starts with a vowel. So you're going to make the liaison. Mon ordinateur, mon affiche, ton appartement, ton université, son hôte, son hôtesse. Parce que hôte commence avec un H et le H est silencieux en français. Donc on ignore le H et on fait la liaison avec N et O. Son hôte, son hôtesse. D'accord? This here is just getting down to the very picky rules. So, the words that start with a vowel, like ami, it's feminine, this one. It should be c'est ma amie. But ami starts with an A, and that conflicts with the A from ma amie. It's hard to pronounce in French. So we switch the ma into mon. It remains feminine here, but we're using the masculine form just for the sake of pronunciation. If you have an adjective here to define the friend that starts with a vowel, again you're going to use the mon form, the masculine form, because c'est ma autre amie would be a conflict of a, just like c'est ma amie above. So you use c'est mon autre amie, Chloé, to make the liaison easier to pronounce. But if you use an adjective here that starts with a consonant, like nouvelle, you're going to revert back to the feminine form, which is what it should be, because here you're talking about a female friend, has an E at the end of amie. C'est ma nouvelle amie, Anna. This is really getting down to the picky small rules. You're not going to have that many words that start with a vowel. You should just know in case you do. It would be the same if you're talking about homme, for example, or hôpital, or hôte, any word that starts with an H and then a vowel, because since the H is silent, you're going to have to switch any word that is starts with an H and then a vowel and is feminine. You would have to use mon instead of ma, which homme and hôpital are both masculine, and so is hôte. So it would have to be, for example, hôtesse. Mon hôtesse instead of ma hôtesse, or any feminine word starting with an H. Here is a little practical note on the sizes of families, how they differ in different French-speaking regions. So in French-speaking Europe, so in Belgium, Switzerland, and France, families are rather small. Like in the US, you have maybe 2 children per family is a standard. 3 starts being a big family. So if you have 3 children, you're classified in France as famille nombreuse. Famille nombreuse means that you're going to have reductions in fees for all transportations, for all school fees, and you have different advantages because you're considered a big family. I also wanted to add a little cultural note in here is that in France there's a system called the allocation familiale. Les allocations familiales works that parents receive money from the state every month or on a bi-monthly basis to help raise the children, so to help pay for school fees and for anything the child might need. In the US, that comes in the form of tax rebates or tax returns. When you have to file your yearly taxes, you have to file how many children you have, and the more children you have, the more reduction you have in your taxes. But in Europe, the state actually gives a monthly stipend per child, if you will. So it's just a different way to do it. In the end, it probably evens out, but it's just a different way of doing it. So make sure you read this note on families and the size of extended families in West African countries, French-speaking countries like Sénégal, Cameroun and Bénin. D'accord? Je passe à la section 2. Il va au cinéma. Elle revient du parc. Here we're going to learn 2 new verbs. So far you know avoir, to have, être, to be, faire, to do, and also your regular ER verbs like étudier, to study. Here we're learning 2 new verbs, aller, to go, and below venir, to come. Aller ends with an ER, but it is irregular. So like faire or être or avoir, it's a verb you just have to learn as is. It's actually pretty close to faire. You see here, je vais is I go, tu vas, you go, il va, he goes, nous allons, we go, vous allez, you go, and ils vont, they go. Je vais, tu vas, il va, nous allons, vous allez, ils vont. Whereas faire was je fais, tu fais, il fait, nous faisons, vous faites, ils font. So there's a little bit of differences. You have to learn them separately. So aller is often used with the preposition à to say you're going to. Ils vont à des concerts en été. Tu vas à une fête ce soir. This is where you're going to. You're gonna have to get used to making contractions, it's called. So when you have à, you're going to a place that is masculine, where you normally would use the article le. You're going to contract this into au. Tu vas souvent au cinéma. So instead of writing à le cinéma, you're going to write and say au cinéma. But in the feminine form, you don't do the contraction. So à la banque stays à la banque. When you have words that start with a vowel or silent H, you're going to put L apostrophe instead of à le ou à la. À l'hôpital is written à l'hôpital in 2 separate letters. À plus les, when you're going to a plural places, will become au. Tu vas souvent aux fêtes organisées par l'université? This is to go. The second verb is venir, to come. So you have the conjugation is again irregular. Je viens, tu viens, il vient, nous venons, vous venez, ils viennent. Venir is often used with the preposition de, to come from. Venir is to come, revenir is to come back, rentrer is to come home from somewhere. You're coming home, usually you're coming back to your original location. Il vient de Paris pour notre fête. He's coming from Paris for a party. Ils reviennent d'un concert. Vous rentrez de votre travail. Rentrer usually means to go home, to come home from. Yeah. when you use de with the articles, just like a with the articles above, you're going to make contractions also. So tu reviens du cinéma. Instead of writing de le cinéma, you're going to say du cinéma. But like à la stays à la, de la just stays de la. Tu reviens de la banque. De l'apostrophe, de l'hôpital, just like it was à l'hôpital, stays separate. Et des, tu reviens des cours. Instead of writing de les cours, you contract into des cours. These are little peculiarities you'll get used to. You'll be able to recognize them very fast. Here's a note on the use of on. On is conjugated in the third person singular, like il et elle singular, but it means we as a group. And it's used mostly in conversation and informal situations. So in a formal writing, you would say nous allons souvent à la plage. We often go to the beach. In informal writing or conversation, you say on va souvent à la plage. So third person, but it still means we often go to the beach. It's just a more informal way to say it. And you've heard the expression, probably by now in the first 4 chapters, on y va? On y va is let's go. Y means there. On y va? Let's go there. Or if you're ready to leave someplace with your family, you say on y va? So let's go. The next session is on prepositions used with geographical locations. So you learn the verb to go. Now you're going to learn how to express where you want to go. First, we're going to start with a reminder that every country has an article. Every country is masculine or feminine. So you have to describe them, talk about them with an article. Par exemple, la France est un beau pays. Le Québec est une province canadienne. Les États-Unis sont en Amérique du Nord. So when you start by the country, you have to use the article. Then the verbs like aller and venir are requiring a and de. A and de works for cities. That's the most simple case. On va à Paris, on va à Montréal, on vient de Paris, on vient de Montréal. You can use a and de with cities. But if you're talking about countries where you're going to that are masculine and that require the article le, you're gonna contract this into o. On va au Mexique, au Brésil, au Japon. If you're talking about plural countries that would normally be described with les, the plural article, you're gonna use aux États-Unis, aux Pays-Bas, AUX. So as you can hear, there is no difference in pronunciation between O singular and O plural, because the O plural ends with an X and final consonants are not pronounced. But you have to write it down when you're writing for grammatical rules. When you're going to a feminine country, you're going to use en. On va en Allemagne, en Chine, en France, en Égypte, en Italie. And the feminine continents also en Afrique, en Asie. Venir, you're going to use de plus the contraction of the masculine form. So by now you can guess. On vient du Mexique, du Brésil, du Japon. That is de plus le combined into du. Les États-Unis is plural, so de plus les becomes des. On vient des États-Unis, on vient des Pays-Bas. With feminine countries, you're going to use de. If they start with the vowel, then you make an apostrophe. On vient d'Allemagne, de Chine, d'Égypte, de France, d'Italie. And for the continents, on vient d'Afrique ou on vient d'Asie. C'est tout pour cette section-ci sur la grammaire. Il y a une petite note ici sur les pronoms y et en. This is a small note, so on y va, we just saw with y. Let's go there, where the there is implied, or sometimes just means let's go. Y replaces a place. So when you're going to some place. En replaces a place also when you're coming back from somewhere. Par exemple, ils vont à Londres? Oui, ils y vont cet été. They're going there. Ils reviennent de Genève? Oui, ils en reviennent demain. They're coming back from there. So Y ou en, depending on the situation. Your fourth section, qu'est-ce que tu vas faire, is on situating events in the recent past and the near future. And this really should have been divided into two different sections because it's two different big grammar points, but they're just put it as point 1 and point 2. We start with the past. In point 1 is venir de. So you can use the verb venir to say what you just did, what you're coming from doing, what you just did before you're doing what you are doing now. Par exemple, je viens de faire la vaisselle. So you use venir conjugated, then de, plus an infinitive, which means a non-conjugated verb. Je viens de faire la vaisselle means I just did the dishes. Michel vient d'arriver. Michel just arrived. So vient conjugated, then de, and then your infinitive. This is for past activities. Number 2 is for future activities. So you could express the future activities with the present tense verbs. For example, nous arrivons ce soir à 22h is we're arriving tonight at 10. It implies it's in the near future. J'étudie à la bibliothèque demain is in the present, but it's implying it's in the near future because you have demain there. Even though it's in the present tense, you know it's something happening in the near future. Here is a way to make it near future grammatically. You have aller and followed by the infinitive. It's called the futur proche. Marie va faire les courses ce soir. She's going to do the errands or run the errands. Ils vont passer un examen demain. So you have aller conjugated and followed by an infinitive, passé. Vous n'allez pas dîner avec nous? You have aller conjugated with the infinitive, and your negation is placed around the aller, the conjugated verb. The ne in front of it, and then aller, pas, and then the infinitive. Je ne vais pas aller en cours lundi. So just like in English, when you say I'm not going to go, it happens that there is the verb aller, conjugated, followed by aller, unconjugated. That's normal. If you're going to go somewhere or not going to go somewhere, you're going to have aller twice. So the first is conjugated, the second is not conjugated. The one main point that should be emphasized is don't forget the de. When you say venir de, what you just did, you need a de there. So you have venir conjugated plus de plus the infinitive. Whereas when you're talking about future events, you have aller conjugated directly followed by an infinitive. There is no de or a or anything there. It's just aller conjugated plus the infinitive right away. If you have trouble with this, make sure you watch the grammar tutorial in Central and the extra videos in Blackboard. Here's a little note on vacations in France. Most people take their vacation, their annual vacation, that is 4 or sometimes even 5 paid vacations, paid weeks. They usually go from July 14th, which is the equivalent of Independence Day, is the Bastille Day, to August 15th on vacation. August 15th is a Catholic religious holiday, it's the Assumption. So Paris is completely dead between July 14th and August 15th. All the working people have gone on vacation. So if you want to visit Paris when it's quieter, you might want to go that month. And you wonder where everybody is because a lot of stores are closed. That's when people take their annual vacation. And they often go to La Côte d'Azur, which is pictured here. It's the southern coast of France. It includes cities like Nice, Cannes, and also Monaco. Monaco is a principality or Principauté de Monaco. It's an independent city-state. It's very, very tiny, 2 square kilometers, so it's not even 2 square miles of land. But it's one of the richest, smallest countries. It's a fiscal paradise, as you may know, for example, for Liechtenstein. That is where you can have bank accounts that are sheltered from taxes. And there is a casino there, and many famous cinema stars have an address or a boat that is docked in Monaco. It's a beautiful place to visit, as well as the whole southern coast of France. Some people go on the western coast, so in Normandy, Brittany, or even further south on the Atlantic coast. But the Mediterranean Sea has a warmer coast if you want to go into the water, into the beach. The Atlantic has bigger waves, but the Mediterranean Sea has warmer water. So it depends where you'd like to go. That's it for Center for this week. Let me go back to Blackboard. You have one assignment in Blackboard where you're asked to visit these different websites for different festivals that take place in France. And this week you'll also be recording your oral self-portrait presentation. You will do this in Blackboard Collaborate. You should have your own room set up in Blackboard Collaborate. If you don't find it, make sure to email your instructor. And you'll be recording the following 16 pieces of information. So, for example, a person could say, Bonjour, je m'appelle Florence Mathieu. Ça s'écrit M-A-T-H-I-E-U. J'ai 29 ans. Mon anniversaire est le 17 décembre. Mon numéro de téléphone est le 217-264-6410. Je suis de Spa en Belgique. J'ai un frère, il s'appelle Philippe et il a 26 ans. Mon père a 50 ans, il s'appelle André. Ma mère a 55 ans, elle s'appelle Jacqueline. Je suis gentille et patiente. Je suis assez grande, j'ai les cheveux châtains et les yeux bleus. Je suis belge. So you will say, je suis américain, je suis américaine, je suis canadien, je suis canadienne, and so on. Je parle français, anglais et allemand. J'étudie les sciences à Ivy Tech pendant la semaine et je travaille à Kroger pendant le week-end. J'ai cours sur Internet. En dehors de la classe, j'aime jouer aux cartes et écouter de la musique et faire la cuisine. Au revoir. So this is a typical self-portrait that you could do. It's not very long, as you can see, but please include the 16 pieces of information. And this assignment is made to make you go back and forth into your book to check how to say all of these pieces of information. Also make sure that you look at your instructor's feedback from the discussion boards, the previous discussion boards, because most of this you have already stated this information in the discussion boards. So use that feedback to correct the mistakes that you made previously to make sure that you get a good grade on your portrait in Blackboard. If you have any trouble with Blackboard Collaborate, you should make sure to contact your online technology coordinator, and the number for that person should be on your syllabus for your own region. So contact them as soon as possible, and they'll probably ask you to put in a help desk ticket and help you that way. You do not need to upload any information in Blackboard Collaborate, so if you want to have the text up on your screen where you are reading it, that's fine. But if you just would like to have your webcam and record what you say without any written support, that's also fine. So unlike the family tree presentation, you're not asked to upload anything on Blackboard Collaborate for this recording. Voilà, c'est tout, je pense, pour cette semaine. Je vous souhaite une excellente semaine et à bientôt!